Hello, hello, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here, as always, with you. This is a live morning space for artists, filmmakers, musicians, and creators who are navigating the real world of making art. On this show, we talk about positivity, but not the fluffy kind. We talk about what actually stops artists from moving forward, the struggles we all face, and how to move through them with clarity and purpose. We'll also highlight good things happening in the industry, share ideas, suggestions, and practical advice, and most importantly, have honest conversations. This is a live show, so if you're here, feel free to ask questions or join in. This is a place to reset, get grounded, and start the day moving forward as an artist. And good morning, everyone. Welcome in. And what's my phone doing there? Good morning, everyone, and welcome in. Hope you're all doing well out there. Had a wonderful weekend, Valentine's weekend. Hope you were with your loved ones, and maybe it's just yourself, and that's okay because you love yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's just a day to celebrate love, right? And I think that that's the important thing. I'm a what you would call a Grinch when it comes to some holidays. The ones that enforce you to do certain things, I'm just not a fan of. Like you have to then now buy flowers and candy, and you have to do this and you have to do that because everyone else is doing it. It's nice. No, I do it during the year. I do it during the year. Just I'm nice. I'm a good husband during the year. But I get into these conversations and people are just like, well, it's just joining in with it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to join in. Anyway, happy Valentine's Day now that I ruined it. But no, I do love everyone, and I do appreciate the energy, the positive energy that everyone gives one another, which really what it's all about. The commerce part of it, that's capitalism. It's capitalism is what makes this country strong. People selling stuff, I'm selling things, you're selling things, everybody's selling something, and then we keep the economy going. We're providing something for the planet. We're providing something for ourselves and our family. Keeps things going stronger, right? So, all right, but let's move on here. We're talking about looking beyond borders. This is something that's interesting because for a very long time I knew that musicians, bands, and uh, bands that were traveling bands traveled the world. Especially in jazz. I have some jazz musician friends that they travel to like Japan. Japan has huge jazz community. They love jazz over there. And there's Australia and there's other places all over the world that just love our music. The music that was born and bred here in America, meaning jazz and blues. Initially, blues really is what is the foundation of pretty much everything that you hear here in rock and roll, basically, right? Um, then you combine those southern rhythms in the South here mainly with some Afro-Cuban music and Latin percussion instruments, and they got together and they have all this great music that we have today, coming from the Caribbean. And as we saw, Bad Bunny and with his beats and those rhythms, in conjunction with the blues, and if you look at this, the just the scale that they sing out of, that scale is a very bluesy scale, and I think people can argue things like that, till you're blue in the face. But if you're looking at the music, then you have to look at the notes of the person singing, right? The actual melody line. And if you take that melody line and you put it onto a scale and you go, here's the blues scale or the pentatonic scale, the major pentatonic scale, where the blues scale lies, which is the minor pentatonic. You take that and you put it right over the blues pentatonic scale, minor or major. You'll see how it fits in perfectly. Fits in perfectly because that's where it was inspired from. This is science, friends. And you know about science. So The entertainment industry is no longer confined by geography, with major music groups investing heavily in emerging growth regions around the world. Global strategy isn't optional, it's essential. Streaming platforms have erased traditional borders, and audiences are discovering artists from different countries in real time, whether it's Afrobeats influencing US pop or Latin rhythms shaping mainstream radio. International collaboration is becoming one of the strongest drivers of growth in today's market. And that has a lot to do with the fact that we have these platforms, right? Spotify and iTunes, those are worldwide platforms, right? Those are universal platforms. So you'll if you're in another country and you type in the name of an artist that you hear that's in America, it's gonna pop up. You're gonna have it. You're gonna have, and now you're going across, across oceans to listen to these songs across continents. To listen to music that was really made probably in a tiny little studio in some in some middle state, where you don't associate with with contemporary pop music, music or popular music, right? And I think the way the industry is going right now, way technology has improved. If you're a kid right now writing a song in a small town in Idaho or Utah or some very small town, and you have recording equipment and you put something together, you have an opportunity to get that song onto a platform that someone across the country, across the world, is going to actually be able to consume. And the power behind that, it really brings the world together. Unfortunately, I know we have AI and we have fake music, and it's really difficult now for people to even know what's real. I can tell. You can always tell if there's, and maybe they'll add this in at some point because people will talk about it. But when people sing, really sing in real life, when you're hearing them singing in a recording, you're gonna hear this breath. They're gonna sing. So whatever they're singing, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb. You might hear a little mouth smack. Now I know in modern, even Pro Tools modern, they take all that stuff out, but you can't take out the breath. You can't take out those things, and I think that's real. That's what kind of connects us to the humanity of it. And when you hear a song that has absolutely no breath whatsoever, or at least no soul to it, if you listen to it enough, you realize, yeah, this sounds perfect, and they're like, sounds a little too perfect. Why is it so perfect? And another thing that you can do is, if it's a real drummer with a track, drummers, a human cannot be a machine, but they can play. You know, a drummer can be incredibly on time and just keep time, and he can be almost sounding like a metronome, but he's not a metronome. So there's gonna be ones that are gonna be slightly off. If you take a AI song, it's never off, unless they program it that way, which they probably will do too, just to fool people, and they have been fooling people by the millions in the music, because there are people who are, there are different levels of people who listen to music, right? There are casual, if a song is playing, they don't turn it off, right? That's just casual, observer. They're passerbys. They like music, but they're not going to go out and buy any music. They don't play music in their house. They don't play music in their car. They don't play music at the office. They just kind of, but if a song is playing, hey, nice song, I like it. You know, that's the first level. That's kind of the lowest level, right? Of a listener, right? They'll know a song. They'll be go, yeah, I have heard that before somewhere, that kind of thing. Then there's consumers. There's There's artists. Um, there are music lovers, I should say, that love music, They go out and they follow artists. They go to concerts. They buy merch. They buy the music. They respect the music. They follow the artist's career. These are real, true fans of an artist, of music in general. They consume music. Then there's musicians, people who play themselves, whether good or not, doesn't matter, but they play themselves and they love the instrument that they're playing and they love to follow other musicians and they love music. They love music. You know, they're not just consumers, they don't just purchase it, they can't live without it. It has to be played every day, you know, every single day. And then there's uh people that absorb music, where you're listening to a song. If somebody starts talking, you got to turn it off if you don't want to be rude. I sometimes, depending on who it is, I can say like, let me finish this song. Wait a second, this is a good one. This is the best part. This is the best part. And I'm just have to get that moment on. Now this song may be a song that you've heard a million times, and if you're with someone who says you've heard this song before, woo, you better get away from that person, or you better just put them in their place and be like, get out of my face, dumb dumb, because that is not what we're about. You absorb music, it does something, the vibration, the spirituality of it does something to you, and you really, really are a conduit for music. You can really connect with it in a way that's different. You talk about it all the time, you research it all the time, you play all the time. If you're a musician, you know, you just consumer. Not all people like this are musicians themselves. I've met some people that are just have extensive record collections, and every day you can find them online too. They don't play any instruments, but boy, do they love music and do they know it. They are professionals, some of them, you know, where they really know. One of them I would say is Adam Reeder. If you don't know who Adam Reeder is, he's the professor of rock on YouTube. Go to his channel. He gives amazing backstories about music, and he is a guy, he is a walking encyclopedia on music in general. Man, that dude be knowing things, and he says things sometimes I'm just like, yo, how in the world? I didn't even know that. And I've heard this song a million times. I had no idea. He's got wonderful stories. So check him out. There's others out there like Rick Beato and um, I would say Tim Pierce, great guitar player. I mean, you talk about a phenomenal guitar player. He's known as a session musician, but he's just a phenomenal guitar player. He's also very insightful and has a wonderful YouTube channel. These are all YouTube channels, by the way. Um, and these are the guys that just love music, you know, and there's a bunch of other ones too. And I mean, they built their whole careers around how much they love music. And if YouTube wasn't around, if all this stuff, their careers would still be in music. They'd be teaching, they'd be writing, they'd be playing, they'd be out there hustling. It's not a question of if, you know, it's just how they're going to be doing it, right? And so that becomes thanks for the like, appreciate you, Betty. That's the levels of the music that I'm talking about. I want to make sure that we all understand what the levels that we are and what you're dealing with. You know, where are you in that category? You know, like I'm a combination of the highest level and the one right below that one, right? I absorb music. I love music. I listen to music tremendously. You know, I play every single day. My guitar's right back there staring at me like, when you gonna pick me up today, man? And I do that. I've been doing that for years and years and years, and I love it. I've played in bands, I've recorded, I've had, you know, some songs on radio, local radio. When I was in New York, we had a very successful band that was expanding. Some of you know that story, what happened there, but it's just been a wonderful journey with me through music, and that's the level that we're on now. Looking beyond borders is very interesting because I remember when we were in the band playing over 20 years ago, and we were in New York City. And I remember I was reaching out to radio stations in different places. This was before the internet or before social media the way it is right now. Yeah, way before that. And I was saying, how about radio stations? They play stuff, right? So I did. I reached out to radio stations, and that's when I realized, oh, you can actually send your CD across the country to another station, a radio station, and see if they listen to it, and then maybe they'll play it, you know. And we got lucky enough, but we had a couple of places play our songs, a couple of in New York State, not New York City, but New York State, with playing our songs. And we even got some messages, hey, I was at a pizza shop and I heard your song playing on the radio. That was awesome. And I was like, oh wow, okay. I didn't know that, and that was my first understanding that, yeah, this is worldwide. You just have to get your material out there. Well, folks, it is 2026. How easier it is to put a link of your music in an email and send it across the planet to someone, and it's instantaneous. I mean, it is the easiest time to do that, but you have to network. And at the end here, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to educate yourself in positioning your career globally. All right. So for artists, um, wait, where did I end off here? Oh, yeah. So it's essential. Streaming platforms have erased traditional borders. Audiences are discovering artists from different countries in real time, whether it's Afrobeats influencing US pop or Latin rhythms shaping mainstream radio. International collaboration is becoming one of the strongest drivers of growth in today's market. For artists, this shift opens powerful doors. Collaborating across cultures doesn't just expand your audience, it expands your creativity. That's true, because think about it. Somebody could listen to your song across the country, across the world somewhere, and be like, I like what this guy is doing. And it could be a big producer somewhere, in Australia, somewhere in Europe, anywhere in Europe. Little town in Italy gets your thing, and they want you to come down there. They'll pay your way. They'll pay you to come down there and play because they love what you did. You have to just get it out there, right? Because you just never know, who's listening to it. Um, Working with producers, songwriters, or filmmakers from different backgrounds introduces new sounds, perspectives, and storytelling techniques. It also strengthens your career resilience. When you diversify your reach across markets and platforms, you're no longer dependent on one region, one trend, or one industry gatekeeper. So, to educate yourself and position your career globally, I want to go over these 3 practical steps that you can do to kind of at least start the ball rolling. So get a pen and paper out if anybody's listening to this and you want to actually do this. Number one is you have to study international charts and trends. So regularly follow global streaming charts, music publications, and festival lineups to see what's gaining traction worldwide. So what you do is you can go to ChatGPT, for instance, and type in an area like, let's say, France. Okay, give me the streaming charts of France, the Spotify stream or iTunes, whatever platform you want to use, and what are the top 10 in France, right? Let's say you have a song and you go, this song kind of has this European sound. It's kind of romantic. It sounds like it almost sounds French, if you know a little bit about French music, or if you know a little bit about dance music in France. It's very popular there as well. Um, and you say, I wonder what's, now you study it. Okay, what are the top 10? See, okay, there are 10 different platforms, right? There are 10 different artists that are on the platform, whatever platform you decide to choose. And you start studying those and you start hearing their music and seeing which artist or band fits with what you're trying to do. Which one fits? And you start saying, okay, and you start making notes. Start making those notes on what's it gonna be. What are you going to actually follow? Good morning. I'm saying somebody, it says LinkedIn user, so it doesn't give me a name of who you are, but thank you and welcome in. I appreciate you. Um, so that's number one. Find out, go check out these platforms, go check out what's happening outside in the world, and check that out. Number two, build cross-border relationships online. Use platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn to connect with creators, producers, and industry professionals in other countries. Collaboration often starts with conversations. Yes. So, like LinkedIn, for instance, is a perfect example. I've been using LinkedIn really heavily for many years, probably more heavily in the last probably 2 years than ever before. I have over 12,000 connections on there, and I've met some unbelievable people on there. The people that I've met and that I've had. Oh, Whitney, hey Whitney, welcome in. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate you being here. We're talking about looking beyond borders as musicians, as artists. Even this works also for film. I know I'm focusing a lot on music today, but this is also film as well. It's a little bit different with film. Maybe I'll do a show looking beyond borders for filmmakers. But um, so if you use like LinkedIn, for instance, LinkedIn is a little bit more, I don't know, they would say a little bit more serious, right? There's people don't post pictures of their lattes there or their mornings. There's no stories. It's more business like. It has a little bit. People that are on there are a little bit more serious about what they're doing. They're working. They're people who've been in the industry for many many years, and then you start navigating there and start finding people in wherever you actually are interested in exploring and starting conversations. You get a membership. I think the membership is not, it could be expensive depending on what your budget is. If you pay $40, but it's a free version. I sometimes go back and forth. I'll have like the $40 a month version, and I'll have that for like 6 months, and I'm connecting with people. I'm using it to the fullest, and I'm like, okay, I'm not. And I go back to the free version for another 6 months, and right now I'm on the free version. I just got off in January on the paid one. You know, so right now I'm just doing the free, and it's going really, really well with the free version. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. They have such good tools on there, to connect with people. So you got to get on there quick because like any platform, they get ruined, right? And it happened. You can go back and look at all the platforms, right? Like Facebook, for instance. Facebook isn't really a social media platform, right? It's a marketing tool. It's a media marketing tool. It's a conglomerate. It's huge. They're there to sell things. That's what they're there for. You connect with a few of your people, right? If you have 5,000 followers on there, you connect with maybe like 2% of them will see your stuff, right? And that's just the way it is because it's not really meant for that. Unless you go out and create groups with those people and start interacting with the people that you really like, that's the only way you can really do it. But YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, great places to connect and collaborate because collaboration, in order to collaborate with anybody, you got to first have a conversation with them and you have to network. This is part of networking. And, I always tell the story of David Foster, right? David Foster, the great producer, legendary producer, songwriter. And he said he was at a university and he was answering questions and he asked the audience, he asked the students, he said, what do you think is the most important thing to be successful in the music industry? And people were raising their hands: perseverance, commitment, whatever. They gave a whole bunch of great answers. And he said, those are all great. You absolutely need those things, But he said, but the number one thing that I would say is networking. Because you can be the greatest songwriter, you can have an amazing song, you can have amazing skills in any way, but if you don't go out and network and knock on those doors and find someone who's going to give you that shot and that opportunity, you can just be sitting in your room playing and be amazing for a very, very long time. You got to network, you got to get out there, and this is part of it. If you want to get into the global stage, if you want to look beyond borders like this episode says, you have to get out there. And with social media and with these marketing tools, it's never been easier to figure out, okay, I want to hit Australia. I love this one Australian artist that I've always been following. I write songs like them. I want to go see if I can follow some of their fans and some of their groups and maybe the artist, start following the artist and maybe try to get a connection with the artist if the artist is accessible that way. And I've told my Paul Williams story many times. Paul Williams, Oscar winner, Grammy winner, Paul Williams. And I'll tell that story. You can go back and watch some old episodes, but that was a networking. I got to meet a legend just via you know Twitter at the time, what it was called. Number three is learn the business side of global distribution. Now, this is the boring part of of it, but you have to understand at least how distribution works globally because it's different every single sector. Even though you may think it's kind of the same, the overall method is the overall understanding is the same, right? You have music and then you got to sell it there. There's stores to sell it there. There's streaming platforms, right? And that's universal. That because that's the way people are consuming music nowadays, right? But there is a distribution method that each region has. And I think that's the important thing. So research how international publishing, licensing, and distribution deals work so you understand how your content can travel and generate revenue beyond your home market. So, meaning, organizations like ASCAP, BMI, these are organizations that manage a lot of music, billions of dollars worth of catalogs that they actually manage and they generate income for those artists. Well, is there an ASCAP Australia? Sure. Find out how they do it. Are there smaller distributors? This is a different world now, right? These are the big boys I'm talking about, but there's smaller distribution platforms that can actually help as well. DistroKid is one of them, right? CD Baby used to be one. I don't know if they're still around. I think they're still around. I don't know if they're still doing it the way they were, but these were or are distribution platforms that you can actually get your music out there globally and see how is it going to benefit you. Learn the structure, learn the pay structure. What does it mean streaming? Streaming, right? I did a whole show on Spotify, right? You need 100,000 views to make $300. There's no money there, right? There's no money in Spotify. You can only just present your music to someone, which is wonderful. They can hear your music, but you got to bring them somewhere. You don't get an email address from Spotify. You don't get a connection from Spotify. You don't even get a name. So you don't have anything from Spotify that is tangible. Even though your music is being used to sell the platform, all you can do is have somebody listen to it. Now, that may be okay, but you have to be able to translate, or I should say, transpose that to your network somehow, whether it's through finding an email or just have one song on there and just have people go to your site. It's a challenge, but you got to find out which one is going to work best for you, which platform, which system, which distribution, which global distribution platform or system is going to work for you. And that's where the work comes in. This is where show business, this is the business, and if you're an independent artist, I'm sorry to tell you, you are in show business and you have to do the show and you got to do the business. It's just part of the game. Unless you suddenly get a management company right out the gate and you got somebody doing all that for you, even if you do have that, you still should understand the business because what ends up happening to a lot of artists, they get ripped off, right? And then they end up with no money, having to tour to pay somebody back. And it's tragic. I did a whole show on this. You can go back on those episodes. And I've talked about this numerous times of artists and bands, people that I know that are out there right now having to tour to pay someone back because they somebody lent them a lot of money and their record did not sell what they had anticipated. And unfortunately, now they got to pay that back and they get ripped off. So learn the business and take that, okay, this is the business. I'm going to spend 1 hour a day just focusing on the business. In 2026 and beyond, artists who think globally while creating authentically will be the ones who build sustainable, borderless careers. And that is the goal. All right, friends, want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, it is Monday. We are getting started. It is a day today. I feel like it's going to be. I can just look out here now. The sun is out. The skies are clear. It's beautiful. I'm gonna go out and enjoy some Nashville sun today. I got a big day. I got a lot of things to do today, and I'll be out and about. You can follow me on my social channels, John Henry Soto at everything, and follow my journey. If you have any questions on anything, you could always reach out to me on any platform, wherever you're watching this as well, and send me a message, ask me a question. I love to help people as much as I can. It's always been a pleasure for me to help others and to enlighten them on whatever it is that they're interested in. All right, friends, take care of yourself. God bless you all. See you tomorrow morning. And as always, peace.